All right, let's dive in today. Um, we're going deep on strategy,
Mm.
you know, but not the kind you might think.
Hmm.
We're cracking open Sun Tzu's The Art of War. This book is legendary, seriously. It's influenced everyone, like
Oh.
think Bill Gates, even.
Oh, yeah.
Masayoshi Son, founder of SoftBank.
Pretty wild, right?
It is, and I know, like at first it's like ancient military strategy, what's that got to do with business today?
Mm-hmm.
But you see, The Art of War, it's not really about brute force. It's more about really getting human nature, figuring out what
Yeah,
your
yeah.
opponent's going to do next and reaching your goals,
Mm.
but like without, you know, causing a global meltdown.
Right, exactly. So no, we're not turning into generals here. More like learning how to win those everyday battles, those tricky negotiations, difficult coworkers, maybe even taming that crazy inbox.
Exactly, yeah. Sun Tzu himself, he was all about avoiding actual fighting whenever possible. He
Really?
was, yeah. He believed in this idea of being undefeated in 100 battles. So like reaching your objectives, but without unnecessary casualties. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So basically what you're saying is Sun Tzu would have been a big fan of just choosing your battles.
Totally. He was all about analyzing everything, knowing what you're good at, what you're not good at, and only fighting when you've got a real clear advantage.
Makes sense.
And one of the most interesting parts of The Art of War, it's this emphasis on knowing your opponent. Like Sun Tzu was serious about it. Even dedicated a whole chapter to espionage. Can you believe that?
Okay, now that's where things get interesting. So are we all supposed to become like secret agents now?
Yeah.
Should I be wearing disguises at work, leaving cryptic messages for my colleagues?
Haha. Maybe not quite that extreme. But the message is real. Information is power. Sun Tzu knew that before you do anything, you got to gather intel.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't matter if it's dealing with a tough boss or trying to get a better deal. It's all about understanding the situation and the people in it. That's paramount.
So it's like before you jump into any conflict, you take a minute, gather intel, figure out their motivations, what are their weaknesses. Might save you a lot of trouble down the line.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, gathering intel is key, but Sun Tzu also really stressed a strong defense.
Okay.
He thought it was like the best offense. There's this famous quote from the book. It says, "Those skilled in warfare ensure they cannot be defeated and then await the enemy's moment of vulnerability."
Wow. Okay, I'm seeing how this ancient wisdom actually applies to today.
Sure.
It's like that saying, the best defense is a good offense, right? Being prepared, strategic, let your opponent make the first move.
Exactly. Think about it like this. You're a smartphone company, super competitive market. Sun Tzu wouldn't tell you to get into a public trash-talking match. No. He'd say, focus on making the best product possible. Make yourself untouchable. And wait for your competition to make a mistake. Then you strike.
It's like playing the long game, being patient, choosing your battles. And speaking of strategy, there's this other principle from The Art of War that blows my mind. This idea of finding your opponent's weakness and exploiting it. Sun Tzu called it emptiness and fullness.
Yeah. Instead of hitting them where they're strong, Sun Tzu says, find where they're vulnerable. Put your energy there. It's knowing that even the toughest opponent, they've got weaknesses. The key is to find them and use them strategically.
So it's not about being the loudest or the strongest. It's about being the smartest. Like in those martial arts movies where the hero figures out the villain's weak spot and uses it to win.
Exactly. You got to be adaptable. Find creative ways to get that edge. And remember, this works for everything. From negotiating a raise to surviving a crazy family dinner.
So next time I'm in a tough spot, instead of trying to overpower everyone,
Yeah.
I should be figuring out their weaknesses and use that to my advantage.
Exactly. It's not about being manipulative. It's about strategy. And Sun Tzu takes this idea of strategic thinking even further when he talks about winning without fighting.
Wait, winning without fighting? How is that even possible?
That's the genius of Sun Tzu. He thought the best victories came not from force, but from strategy intelligence, sometimes even manipulation. He knew direct conflict should always be the last resort.
Okay, I'm all ears. Tell me more about this winning without fighting thing.
It starts with getting your opponent's motivations. What are they really after? Is there a way you can get what you want while also giving them what they need? This takes empathy, observation, thinking outside the box.
So instead of charging into battle, I should be channeling my inner diplomat, trying to find a peaceful resolution that works for everyone.
That's the idea. Sun Tzu believed in a layered approach. Start with diplomacy. Then, if you absolutely have to move to more forceful tactics, but only as a last resort.
So before I jump into any conflict, I should ask myself, can I win this without actually fighting? Could I reach my goals by negotiating, collaborating, or maybe just understanding the other person's point of view better?
Those are all great questions to ask. Sun Tzu challenges us to be strategic, insightful, always looking for the path of least resistance. And sometimes that path means giving your opponent a way out, even when you've won.
Hold on. You're telling me to let my opponent win?
Not exactly. It's more about realizing that sometimes pushing someone too hard can backfire. Sun Tzu understood how people think. He knew that a cornered opponent can get unpredictable, even dangerous.
It's like that saying, desperate times call for desperate measures.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
You got to give people a way to save face, a graceful exit.
Yeah.
Or they might lash out in ways you don't see coming.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this applies to everything, from closing a deal to handling conflict at work. Sometimes letting your opponent keep their dignity is better than crushing them completely. Sun Tzu was all about turning enemies into allies. He knew the value of lasting peace.
Wow, this is really making me rethink my whole idea of winning. It's not about being ruthless, it's about being smart.
That's the genius of Sun Tzu. He understood that true victory comes not from conquering others, but from mastering yourself in the situation.
I'm learning so much today. It's amazing how the art of war is less about actual warfare and more about life.
It really is. And we've only just scratched the surface. There's so much more to uncover. It's crazy how Sun Tzu's ideas work in so many different parts of life. And one of the biggest things he's all about, besides knowing yourself and your opponent, is understanding the terrain. But not just literally.
Okay, this is where I need help. I get the whole know the battlefield thing when we're talking actual war. But how does that translate to negotiating a salary or dealing with a difficult coworker? Do I need to draw up battle plans for my office?
No, not exactly. Think of it more metaphorically. A general needs to know the battlefield, right? The physical layout. Well, we need to understand the landscape of our own lives.
Okay.
Personal, professional. Every situation's got its own terrain,
Yeah.
Power dynamics, unspoken rules, potential traps.
So you're saying terrain could be anything, like office politics or even the vibe in a friend group.
Exactly. Understanding the terrain of your workplace, for example.
Yeah.
It could mean knowing who to talk to, when to speak up, when to lay low. It's those unspoken rules,
Right.
Potential allies, rivals, where you can actually have an impact.
This is making me realize how much I just go on autopilot sometimes. Instead of really seeing what's going on and understanding it, I just react. It's like walking through a forest without a map.
That's a great analogy. And Sun Tzu would say, by understanding the terrain, you're basically giving yourself that map. You start to see those little clues, the power structures, and then you can move through those tough spots way better.
It's like having a secret weapon, something most people don't even know about.
Right.
Okay, I'm sold on the whole terrain thing. What else did Sun Tzu have up his sleeve when it comes to strategy?
Well, get ready for this. He was big on deception.
Really?
One of his most famous quotes is, "All warfare is based on deception."
Deception. Now we're talking. So Sun Tzu is telling us to embrace our inner trickster. Should I start leaving fake clues for my coworkers? Lead them away from the good projects?
Haha. Maybe not that literally. But Sun Tzu's deception is more subtle. It's not about lying or being mean. It's about strategically managing the information you give out, the impressions you make.
So it's more like being clever, playing the game smart. I'm picturing those spy movies where the agent uses disguises and fake news to outsmart the enemy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And even though most of us aren't going to be international spies, those ideas about deception, they work in everyday life. Think about negotiating. You might make your first offer seem lower so the other person thinks they're getting a good deal.
Right.
Or in a competitive environment, you could strategically give out certain info to throw your rivals off.
It's like poker. You don't want to show all your cards too early. You got to keep them guessing.
Exactly. Remember, Sun Tzu was all about adapting, always reassessing and changing your approach. There's a quote where he says, "Let your plans be dark and impenetrable as night, and when you move, fall like a thunderbolt." It's being strategic, but also decisive and unpredictable.
I love that image, like being a ninja, striking fast when the moment is right. Speaking of striking quickly, did Sun Tzu talk about speed and momentum?
Totally. He thought long, drawn-out conflicts hurt everyone. He was all about quick, decisive action to get the win fast and efficiently.
Makes me think of those underdog stories,
Yeah.
Where the smaller, faster team beats the bigger, slower one. It's about being agile,
Yeah,
using your momentum, not letting opportunities slip away.
you got it. Sun Tzu knew that keeping the momentum going is crucial in any battle. He said that stalemates lead to exhaustion. You run out of resources, morale drops. He was all about seizing the moment, hitting hard, and then solidifying your gains before the other side can even catch their breath.
So it's not enough to have a plan. You got to be able to make it happen quickly and decisively. Like in basketball, you get a fast break. You don't wait. You take the shot.
Exactly. And just like in basketball, you got to be able to adjust. Sun Tzu knew that no plan ever goes perfectly. He emphasized being able to change things up on the fly, roll with the punches.
This is making me think about how much I overthink things. I get stuck trying to plan for every single possibility before I even do anything.
That's a common trap, Sun Tzu would say. Sometimes the best thing you can do is just decide and go, even if you gotta adjust as you go along.
So it's about finding that balance between strategy and decisiveness.
Right.
Be bold, but calculated, and always ready to adapt.
Yeah.
I'm feeling inspired. What other wisdom did Sun Tzu have for us?
Oh, he gets into some fascinating stuff, like how to pick the right time to engage and using your resources strategically. But before we jump into all that, let's take a minute to think about what we've learned so far.
Sounds good. I'm already seeing how the art of war can apply to so many different areas of life.
It's a truly timeless text, and we've still got more to explore.
Yeah, we're back. And man, my brain is still processing all that Sun Tzu wisdom. We covered defense deception, knowing the terrain, even speed and momentum. It's like we got a whole new playbook for life's challenges.
I like that. And I think one of the most powerful tools in that playbook is winning without fighting. Sounds kind of crazy at first, but the more we dig into it, the more I see how brilliant it is.
Yeah, it goes against everything we usually think, right?
Yeah.
Like winning means crushing the competition, coming out on top no matter what.
Yeah.
But Sun Tzu is suggesting something totally different.
He is. He's pushing us to think past just force, to see the bigger picture, and to realize that sometimes the best way to get what we want is through diplomacy strategy, even maybe a little manipulation.
Hold on a sec. That word manipulation always makes me a bit nervous. Sounds sneaky. Like not exactly ethical.
I get it. But remember, Sun Tzu was writing about war, where survival was everything. His ideas about manipulation can actually be used ethically today, too. It's about understanding how to persuade people, how to influence things to get the result you want, but not by tricking or forcing them.
So less puppet master, more like strategic influencer.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's about being smart, knowing your audience, and shaping your message so it connects with them. Think of it like this. You're trying to get your team on board with a new idea. You wouldn't just present it all cold and factual, right?
Right.
You'd frame it in a way that appeals to them, show them how it benefits them and the whole team.
So it's like figuring out what makes people tick, what motivates them, and using that to guide them towards what you want. It's like marketing, but for life.
Exactly. And just like in marketing, you got to be real and ethical. Sun Tzu is all about building trust and credibility. That's what makes you successful in the long run. Nobody wants to feel like they're being played.
It reminds me of those leaders who are just naturally charismatic. The ones who can inspire and motivate effortlessly. They're not forcing anyone. They're creating an environment where people want to follow them.
Perfect example. And that brings us to another big theme in the art of war, the power of leadership. Sun Tzu believed a good leader could inspire their troops, create discipline, build a team that could achieve anything.
So it's not just about outsmarting your opponent tactically. It's about creating a strong team and motivating them. It's about being a leader, not just a strategist.
You got it. Sun Tzu emphasized clear communication, mutual respect, a shared vision. He knew that a well-led team, even a small one, could outperform a bigger, less organized group.
It makes you think about teamwork in general, not just at work, but everywhere. Our communities, families, even friendships.
Exactly. These leadership principles from Sun Tzu, they apply everywhere. It's about inspiring people, building trust, creating a shared vision for the future, knowing when to take charge and when to step back.
Wow, this has been quite a journey. We started talking about ancient war strategy, and now we're talking about leadership, marketing, psychology, all the dynamics of relationships.
That's the power of the art of war. It goes beyond time and place. It speaks to anyone who wants to achieve their goals and handle life's complexities.
So as we wrap up our deep dive today, what's the main takeaway for our listeners? What's the one thing they should remember from exploring Sun Tzu's wisdom?
I think the biggest lesson is this. True victory isn't about conquering other people. It's about mastering yourself. It's about developing a strategic mindset, self-awareness, understanding how people interact, and always looking for the smartest, most effective way to get what you want.
And maybe keeping a few of those strategic deceptions in your back pocket, just in case.
Maybe a few. But remember, use that power wisely.
Well said. This has been an eye-opening conversation. I encourage everyone listening to check out The Art of War for themselves. See what wisdom you can find. You might be surprised.
Absolutely. Remember, Sun Tzu is not about becoming some ruthless warrior. It's about developing that strategic mind that can help you face life's challenges and opportunities with more clarity, wisdom, and effectiveness.
So go out there and conquer. But strategically, of course. Until next time, happy strategizing.